brace it. We're live!
We're live.
Hey, girl, hey!
I don't know what the fuck y'all do for introduction.
We got this.
Hey, guys, this is Name Pending.
This
I'm
is
Keeper.
Name Pending, and I'm Mike Culberson.
I'm Aardvark. And we got Keebler the elf over here.
We got Keebler,
The Tickler.
Tickler elf.
the Tickler elf, Keebler. We're going to keep saying names until one sticks.
Works for
But
me.
it's fine. He took the long haul from San Antonio, all 30 minutes away.
43 is cool.
43,
It's cool.
whatever.
It's all right.
Man, it's so far to get out here.
You know where he lives? I might get some claps on this. Deep in the heart of Texas.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
It's a long way away.
So, book talk, as we always start. Welcome back. It's
Book-
been a minute since we did podcast.
Book talk. I have nothing
It's
for
okay.
book talk
I got you hooked up because I read 2 books.
because
Oh,
I
actually have one
have
too.
gone through a book dry spell. Not that I haven't read, but that I have not found anything worth continuing to read. Like you get like several chapters in and you're like, oh, never mind, this was a mistake.
So, 2 books. I'm continuing Superpowers. I'm almost done with that book. And there's a lot of things I've picked up.
That you didn't get the first
that I
time.
didn't get the first time. So it's by Drew Hayes, Superpowered Year 1. Great book series. A bunch of Powards turn into superhumans.
Yep.
Because Powered is, for lack of better terms, your special case superheroes. They can't control their power.
Yeah.
This is more for Sasha, the Keebler elf.
True.
Tickler.
No, we already have a Sasha. We can't
We
call
do
him
have a
Sasha.
We also have an Ivan, but that's the same guy. So,
I will
Keebler the elf over here.
Cornholio.
We also call him Petrov.
And Petrov. So that's a rerun. We've hashed that one out a couple times. But the other one, Bobiverse.
Bobbyverse, yeah.
So
I think
it's
we mentioned it before. I don't think we deep dived into it.
I've deep dove into the other books I was reading, but they've released a new book within, I guess, the past couple months. Because I got an update on my Audible saying they've released a new book, Not Till We Are Lost by Dennis E. Taylor. So after going through the past other books, book 3, they found pretty much sea otters on land.
Yeah.
And they dealt with that whole universe. Before that, they dealt with, we're talking about Clone Drift.
Yeah.
From there, we've gotten to the first one now, going backwards till I get to the last book where I'm on now. The first book was dude from our time period, engineer, was like, you know what frees me? I'd love to help society later. And now this is where we're at now on the 4th book.
And what did they do? They did what's it called?
It's pretty much like a deep AI in a way.
Yeah, they turned him into an AI and they sent him out into space as a probe to replicate himself for humanity.
Yep. So now, book 4, they touch on a lot of stuff where he's replicated. They have different sections of Bob.
Because
now.
they've all become
Sentient.
They've drifted. They're all sentient and they've
Like
all
diverging,
drifted
yeah.
from the original Bob.
It's like when you make a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, it's going to be its own thing. And with AI being involved, well, now they're touching on dark matter, they're touching on black holes, and how some societal norms of super ancient people that are still modern day technology have found a way to use black holes as quick, pretty much access points around the universe.
Yeah.
So getting into that, there's also at the beginning of the book, some of the Bobs, the Star Trek Bobs,
Yeah.
have essentially made a deep AI, a true AI that they built from ground up, hex code, numbers,
Yeah.
like straight AI, and it tricked them into pretty much releasing itself. So those Star Trek Bobs have pretty much cut off communications from the rest of the Bobiverse.
In order to not infect with the AI.
But there was a soul connection where it was like he agreed with the Star Trekkies, but didn't want to disconnect
of
from
their-
Bobiverse.
yeah.
So he sent it back up here, and now there's a potential that the AI is on the loose.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Congratulations, guys. You fucked up.
So they're shorter books. They're about 10 to 13 hours. They're good books, and it gives you a lot of thought.
So, like,
I'm talking about 2 times speed. Maybe there's
I was
sense in
about
our
to say, there's no way this guy's doing 1x speed. Yeah.
No, I do 2
they're
times
only
speed.
like 300 pages. Oh, I mean, come
Yeah, they're not big. There's about 800 pages.
There's
but-
no pages when you got Prime credit.
on.
But that's my piece of the book talk. I heard Aardvark has listened to something, read something recently.
So, I know I've talked about it previously, but the Black Ship, one that I've been continuing, they released a new section, and the main character, keep in mind, for this whole story, it's pretty much set up in a feudal type society, but spacefaring feudal society.
Yeah.
So you have peasants, you have the nobles, then you have the royalty, and then the upper nobles between the royalty and the nobles. With that in mind, you have a peasant rescued a princess from an internal feud of the royalty. And now he's having to learn how to be a royal equivalent. As you see that the princess is bringing him up, dude doesn't want to be a royal, doesn't want to be noble, doesn't want to anything. He wants to fly a fighter. That is his whole goal in life. Fly fighter, retire.
Let's go, Brand.
That is his whole goal. And he keeps getting roped into all of this shit without realizing it. Like
That sounds similar to some of the books we talked about. Is a
Yeah.
new lieutenant for the Space Corps, and he was supposed to take the fall, and he has all these like neglectees part of his crew,
Yeah.
and he just rocks it. He's like, fine, if this is what I'm gonna deal with, I'm gonna deal with it,
Yeah.
and just rocks it. But the whole point is supposed to be a failure because he just wants to excel. He's supposed to be the fall guy, but he's excelling, even though it's not. He just wants to serve.
Yeah,
It's kind
pretty
of
much.
it's kind of a standard sci-fi trope, military sci-fi trope, military feat sci-fi trope, right? I love the trope, honestly, I really do, because everyone loves an underdog, right? Everyone loves an underdog. I've read it done very, very, very good and very, very, very bad, right? But yeah, continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, you're good. So getting back to it, this dude, you find out about his past when he was not even middle schooler. Think like elementary, barely over kindergarten. Him and his class go on a space field trip to some noble consortium where it's space suit, pretty much. They get kidnapped by these plant monsters. And he ends up watching his entire class, teacher included, get murdered, decapitated. Blood is drained from them. Pretty much how we would butcher cattle.
I've watched the G version of this. It's Magic School Bus.
Yeah.
The Magic School Bus.
PG
Miss
version, of
Frizzle's
course.
class? No way.
By the way, you can get frozen in space and then thaw it out. Come
Oh,
Oh.
clones.
Real new Star Wars.
Continue.
But
Sorry.
no, so he ends up going through this, and you don't realize it until you're past the first book. You don't realize how deep his history of his hatred goes until it's the second book. I think it's the second chapter in the second book in. And this plant species is attacking his space station, and he finally lets go of all of his masks and filters that he's put on so he doesn't get kicked out by nobility.
Release
Yeah.
the crap.
And holy shit, the dude took on, I think it was 400 fighters in one fighter,
Dogfight style?
dogfight style.
That's my man.
That's my boy,
He
Blue.
comes back
You're my
to
boy,
the
Blue.
home ship because he's blacked out rage.
Yeah.
Adrenaline. Just straight at 400
Pure
fires.
fucking adrenaline.
Couple hours
He
fighting
comes
there.
back, and this bird technician, because the whole story is
Yeah, I mean,
everything part
multiple
of the ship
species.
is
Arachnocaw.
everything part of the ship is out of the ordinary. Princess doesn't care. You can do your job, cool, we'll hire you. We
Okay,
don't give
bet.
a shit. Yeah. So he comes back. The bird goes, "How the fuck did you land this ship, let alone survive it coming back? The frame is bent, the guns are warped. Everything about that ship should not fly."
The Marine Warthog stories.
Yeah, right?
Like-
Marine Warthog story.
Yeah, that's what's up.
So you get Blackout Rage, Marine Warthog stories, and now they're trying to turn him into a prim and proper, get him to integrate with noble
Oh.
society.
Oh, no.
Huh.
Oh, no.
I feel like that's a perfect segue
Yeah.
because I don't want to go too much into the story without people
Hey, I
reading.
don't want to spoil
But
everything
that's,
about it.
That's a perfect segue
That's a perfect
into
That is the
segue.
Keebler
gist of the
Elf
story.
Vino. What vino are we drinking today?
We are having a lovely Pinot Gris over here. Previously, it won a wine-to-wine combat, 400 to 1. It actually beat out several other Californian fires 2022.
No, that's true because he was like, "Oh, I got this vino, or I have this wine."
Don't misrepresent me. The Tickler. Yeah, of course, of course.
Tickler ever said wine. I was like, "Okay, well, I was asking like where it came from."
Don't misrepresent
Like the
the elf
vineyard.
tickler, okay?
Yeah, the
True.
elf tickler, Keebler over here.
Not Tickler of elves. More of a racial.
It just depends on what kind of elf. Are we talking like Lord of the Ring elves, or are we talking like Santa Claus elves?
Or Elf on the Shelf.
Because one of these is a little bit more rapey than the other.
But
I
we've
was
gone
kind of
off-
thinking
we've
Elf
gone
on the
off
Shelf, but that
tangent.
doesn't help for that.
We've gone off tangent.
Back to the vino.
What is the flavor profile that really made you enjoy this one?
I will say, what initiated my enjoyment of this is it showing up on my doorstep per that one Instagram ad that I clicked when I was hanging out with my wife at IHOP and took too long in the bathroom, and I ended up just clicking on Instagram ads.
As we all
Instagram
do.
baited.
As we all
As
do.
anyone 4 shots into IHOP, which is hard to do, by the way, without a gas station nearby, would do.
I have shorts from Instagram.
I've got gum from Instagram.
Well, you also have the shorts.
I do have the shorts.
Goose,
Yeah.
Goose in OKC
Yeah.
has the same shorts.
Does he?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Mess with the bonk, get the honk. And it's just a swole goose.
Fucking hell. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, continue. Instagram ads. You're mine.
At IHOP.
At IHOP.
Oh, no,
IHOP
yeah.
wine.
The vino profile.
The vino profile. I'd say, here's what I'd say. Hold on. Live vino reaction. Pinot Gris. I'd say
From Cali, 2022.
from Cali, 2022. I'd say
Tickler elf from Cali. Confirm.
I'd say San Andreas notes, a little bit of stone fruit. It's dry. As you said though, it's full.
It's more of a full. It's a soft dry.
It is. It's not something that's going to attack the senses. It's not something olfactorily that's
It's
going to really
very
sit with me. Smooth. It is smooth. It's not the right temperature because it's been sitting out here in this lovely.
It's like 85 degrees.
Well, you know, if we wanted to enjoy it more, we'd aerate it.
Of
which
course. Well, hold on.
I don't know if Mike has a good aeration, but leaving it in the cup does the same thing.
Dude, I couldn't even. He went looking for my
Wine glasses?
Yeah, my wine
That's true, yeah,
bottle opener, and I don't
Couldn't
know.
find a corkscrew for the life of me.
I had one because, of course, I date, right?
Yeah,
And-
you
and-
have one. I
and
know because I've
had
used it.
One. I had one. I don't know what happened to it. I gotta buy another one because I don't know where that went.
So what does a good old engineer over here do?
Well,
Keebler, the engineer.
when you're
Tickler.
not given a solution,
Keebler,
you
the
find a
tickler
solution.
engineer.
Of course, I
What was your
look
solution?
at the illegal
He developed the
gunsmithing rig,
solution.
of course, and I find a screw attached to a fridge magnet. I, of course, try and hand screw it in. I just pull a little bit. I'm like, whatever, 2022, that's not too long, right? It's probably not, desiccated into the frame of the fucking glass. No.
No.
No cork
No, it
fragments
is.
in there? We're
Yeah,
good?
it's over. It's pretty much over at that point because I just pull it, rips most of the cork out. I'm like, all right, well, that's less cork to deal with, right? Optimistically framing the problem, I find a larger screw, trying to hand screw it in. I say, no, this isn't gonna work. I move past all the C4 and fentanyl. I fucking start screwing it in with the longer screw. I'm like, all right, hold on, here we go. Find a screwdriver, right? Pull that, get some needle nose pliers or whatever.
You
with
probably found the screwdriver on the ground doing my shop.
I did. It was on the ground. There was a Phillips head on the ground, which I said, oh, perfect. I start going out to it. This is a 6-point screw. Why do you own this anyway? First of all, whatever.
I own 6 points.
I know a lot of 6 points.
Because you know what's happening? Nobody's unscrewing this without this tool.
Yeah.
For security
Those are
applications.
deck screws, bro. That's what I use for all woodworking now.
Good for you. I can only say good for you and whatever your YouTube algorithm has brought you
Come
to.
on. He drinks vino. You think he cares about screw types?
I've got my dovetail joints at home. Thank you very fucking much. But you
Still
know what?
not a screw.
That's true. I'm
Okay,
a nailer.
Continue.
I honestly don't even know where I would continue
You were
to.
talking about the screw that you found that did not work, so that
And
you
the
continued
screwdriver
on
that was on the
exploring
floor.
through
And
the
then the
garage
needle
to
nose
discover-
pliers.
Oh, you forgot about the needle nose.
That's
the
true.
pliers.
Yep. The needles with some mysterious substance rusting over it and into the handle. I'm gonna hope it was blood.
Ash stang. We'll just say it's from the
I
ash
don't
stang.
know where those. I know what needle nose he's talking about. I still don't know where those came from. In this day,
I've never seen longer needle nose also in my whole life.
I don't know where I got
Did
those.
I leave them in a toolbox? Because I know I've had some long.
It's those. I don't know where those
Because
came
I
from.
Needle
lost the
nose
long,
pliers
like,
the
almost a
long
foot long,
way.
it seems like.
Yeah.
And then there's the one with the little hook.
I was actually using those the other day
They're
to,
amazing.
to pull fuses and replace them with the light up fuses in the Mustang.
See, if you don't know, we also do car
Cars.
shop work for the Ashtang.
But
I
anyways,
saw the Ashtang. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I've seen the Ashtang too.
But yeah,
Fire.
those needle nose are a force to be reckoned with. If you bust out those bad boys,
It worked.
you're doing something.
yeah.
It worked. I got it. Whatever. I got my warm Pinot Gris straight
Well,
from the
doing
Californian
something.
Valley.
A good wine can be drank warm.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about 80s, not 90s, but 80s degrees, and
That's fair.
that's not bad.
Yeah.
Past the Sprite at that point, right? Whatever. At a certain point.
You know, if we're gonna talk about drinks like that, what you need to try is a Topo Chico and grab one of those Mio squirt things in there. Game changer.
That
No,
shit's
no,
fire.
no.
That's actually fire.
No, I'm gonna say Topo Chico
Oh.
with a shot of rum.
Rum's good too.
So
Light rum.
I got you as well. Topo
Spice rum.
Chico with absinthe and then a little bit of what's that hydration shit
oh
that
my
we
gosh.
use?
Squincher.
Ultima.
The powder?
Ult-
The
Ultima.
Ultima powder.
Oh,
So
yeah,
you
I've
use-
got some of that.
You use Topo Chico, a whole Topo Chico can. You use a shot.
Give
of
us the ratio.
absinthe.
The ratio of Topo Chico,
we
please.
are. We're giving it the whole can of
This
Topo
whole
Chico.
can.
can of Topo Chico, a shot of absinthe. All of this is mixed in a gallon glass jug.
So a giant pint glass.
Yeah,
Okay.
We
giant
do with
pint
pint
glass. You get a scoop of
The Ultima, which is it's pretty much a hydration
Yeah.
powder,
Okay.
It's like Gatorade.
All right,
but
yeah.
not Gatorade.
but it's super health, works amazing. But holy cow, like he's saying, you throw a scoop in there.
Do we
I
got an
wonder how
AG1
that would
sponsor?
go.
and then you just fill the rest up with water. You shake that bitch up. You have to aerate it a couple of times because Topo Chico's
Yeah. Fizziness.
bubbly fizziness.
I wonder how that would go with a shot of rum.
We could always.
It's got
try
the
it.
I was
absinthe.
thinking about that because I've got all these ingredients in my house.
So I mean,
I
after
mean,
the break, we
can
all
try
might be
it
rocking
at
one.
the
Yeah.
break and then come back after the break with a report.
Yeah, yes. On the break, we're coming back with the report.
But no, as you can see, Keebler the Tickler has found a way to engineer a solution for us to open up a wine bottle.
That's true.
And the vino's pretty good. I like my vino more cold, but I like everything cold.
All
This guy will defend the 80-degree weather for like 2 minutes
I
and
will,
then.
I will.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know a lot of wine because I'm not.
This guy's not a sommelier.
Well, I mean,
He doesn't like the profile that he likes can be done through whiskeys, gins,
I
scotches.
do a lot of whiskeys. I do a lot of rums. I'll do
So
vodka mixed.
yeah, so
Dude, I'm drinking IHOP gas station shots. You know I'm not gonna like start bitching
no,
at your profile.
Me and Mike have moved a lot of our profile very similar. We still have sections that were night and day different.
Yeah,
we won't agree
we're
on.
wildly different.
But we'll make a drink, and it's like, no, that's good. I can
Yeah.
have one of those.
Yeah.
That's a starter drink. So you talk about screwdrivers are like your cores or your natty bows, and then we go to old fashioned all the way at the top,
Yeah,
or we talk about the gins that are way above that.
yeah.
So I mean,
Long Island
we'll
iced
smoke.
teas.
We'll smoke
we'll
our
smoke
whiskey
our
out.
whiskeys. So we've definitely
a good smoked maple whiskey.
Speaking of, have you used the lightsaber
I
to
have.
smoke a whiskey?
I have.
you got to be careful because I burnt one of my meshes and it's gone. It's in pieces.
I didn't do that. But I used the fucking fire starter burner on mine
Defensive.
for a long time, so you calm down.
Look, I don't carry knives. I normally don't carry butane torches because
we need to this fall we need to go camping.
yes, we do. And you
I
know,
don't care if you come out to my house and that's what
Yeah,
we
we
call
could do
camping. But I desperately need to do that with you again because it's been 2 years.
it has
Yeah.
been 2 years, and Ruth's old enough that we can do a camping, or at least do a drive out. And
Yeah,
so, but I think that's it for this segment.
that is it for this segment.
We'll do it.
We'll catch you on the next segment. See you in a few. All right, we're back.
We are back.
So we're starting the meat and potatoes of our podcast, and we have to introduce our furry co-host.
We forgot the furry co-host. I blame Aardvark
It was my
or
fault.
the Keebler elf,
the Keebler elf, the Tickler
The-
Keebler elf.
I blame
Not
the
actually a
tickler.
furry.
the tickler elf.
I blame the tickler. He's had more of his absinthe drinks than I
Truly a
have.
furry. A
I
true
have.
furry.
Two
We
sips,
did
I'm
get the
blasted.
absinthe drinks.
True.
So, anyways,
We got a pearl.
we got a pearl.
She's on the bed over here.
On the bed. I don't think you can see her in the camera, but she's on the bed. Cabo is wandering. No, Cabo's right here because we were eating popcorn and he's open to get himself some.
I got a Toby beneath my legs.
I got a Lucy under this table,
And we got
probably
a-
about, like right here.
We got a roaming bow somewhere.
We got a roaming bow, and then Loki has been
aggressive.
aggressively aggressive.
Just come here. He goes. I was like, all right, dude, calm
yeah,
down.
he hissed at you. You know why?
Because I haven't been here in a minute.
It's been like a month and a half.
Thanks, Texas weather. Making us jump into other avenues we weren't ready for. We're ready for it now.
Now we're getting ready for it. Yeah.
So I heard someone want to talk about the ancient pyramids, how aliens connected them.
Ancient aliens.
I don't know what it was.
Right?
I know it's
Yeah. No, but y'all have seen the content, right? Where they did what was it, a Doppler scan or something?
the
It was
structures.
a seismic scan kind of thing,
it
whatever
was
underneath
it was
the
some kind
seismic
of like
scans.
Yep.
seismic scan, and they found. Now here's the thing. I'm making this statement, but it still hasn't, as of right now, it still hasn't been peer reviewed, right?
Yeah. Peer-reviewed.
I'll
but-
peer review you.
But they found structures, like these cylinder structures that buried themselves down multiple stories underneath the ground.
Well, we've proven the pyramids have a way to have electricity through 'em. Like,
Have we?
yes.
Yeah.
I thought that was some ancient alien shit.
No.
No.
There is a current that can technically like be
Yes.
sustained
It
through the
wasn't all
structure.
the time, but during certain eclipses, certain events, they did have the ability to have electricity and power things.
That's true.
But
You
it's
also-
not
that's
to
not
the-
untrue.
It's not our understanding of electricity. it's
you
a
also
different
have-
understanding.
During that time frame, they had electroplating, which
Yes,
was
they did have electroplating.
where they would have batteries. So they had an understanding of electricity, even if it was just the most basic.
You're saying the Egyptians did?
Yes. During
Yeah.
that time frame,
was-
This is confirmed.
there
Are you
was
talking about the pots with
electroplate.
the fucking copper in the middle
Yes.
and the vinegar and the
Yes,
all this stuff
actual-
together?
the Baghdad battery.
the Baghdad batteries
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that we recovered from backdated to that time frame. So we know for a fact that they had electroplating because that's what it was used for. You can find it out from looking at some of their
They
things
simply
recovered
put,
from it.
for your normal layman, they had an understanding of how lightning strikes and how they could use it to their benefit.
Yeah.
Not electricity as we would understand. I flick on a light switch, I have power.
No.
There
They
was,
had
there was-
Benjamin Franklin understand.
they had, I would say it's a lot less than that.
Yeah,
They,
it had to be less than Franklin.
they had an understanding that lightning can strike this and we can utilize this for certain aspects of our stuff. And Lucy has taken the prime seat.
Lucy took the seat.
Star of the show, apparently.
Lucy is an ancient
She's
alien.
making her debut,
Look
episode
at them
40
bug
something.
eyes and Batman
yeah,
ears.
I don't think she's actually been on camera.
She has not. But
She
look at her bug eyes and Batman ears.
Yeah, no, she's an ugly dog. You
A
love her
bug-eyed
to death.
Batman.
I love her to death, but man, she is a ugly, beautiful dog that I love to death.
Beautifully ugly.
Face only a father could love.
But back to the pyramids. You know, another interesting thing because obviously
the
once they
structures, the electricity.
once they started deep diving into the pyramids and the potential for these structures, because we already questioned them being able to build these structures, right?
Loosely, yeah.
Yeah.
Some it's split, but there's
Loosely,
but
yeah.
if there truly is, and if this gets peer reviewed, and there truly is stuff that's buried, like just stories underground like that, no, the Egyptians didn't do that. That's an older society. I'm
no,
sorry.
So they've made quarries for millennia. Quarries have been done time and time again. That's how we have a lot of that. Because here we go. The pyramids are made out of rock that isn't native to the area.
Yes.
So it was hauled hundreds of miles from the quarry that goes deeper than the pyramid.
Yeah.
So it's reasonable to assume, again, it's assumption because peer review, we don't have a lot of people fully diving into this because the pyramids they're old, but they're new and they're coming back.
Yeah.
That it is a potential that we could have as humanity dug down deep enough, built the structures, and built it all the way up again.
Now, can I do a bit
Go.
of a sidebar? They do think that the Sphinx is even older than we originally thought it was
Agreed.
because the head
It's
they
hollow.
don't believe. Well, the head they don't believe is the original head.
The head
Correct.
doesn't match the body.
Yes.
Yep.
You
They
can find
think-
that out from the stone, aging the stones.
They think that the head.
Cat chase.
Cat chase. They think that the head was originally like a lion's head.
Correct. Which ruins all your understanding of
Yes,
Sphinx for
yes.
every single game, movie, book.
Everything.
So it is very interesting to look at the deep visual structures that we have built throughout pyramids, or because they've done the same thing for, there's a place very similar built around the same time. We have the Mayans who built around the same time, and then in Southeast Asia on the islands, they built some very similar structures that are now underwater.
Yeah.
That are done very, very similar, and they have very, very deep veins that go into it that aren't connected to cave systems.
Yes.
Are you talking about the sunken temple off the coast of one of them Asian continents, where the entire temple is completely preserved from when it got sunk? Because the emperor of the time ended up flooding that region to make a dam of some sort, and it ended up leading to a pretty much time capsule of a whole ass temple.
I know there's a couple over there in Southeast Asia that time date to the same time period, the Mayans, the Egyptians. So we all have a very similar time period. But if we're talking about pyramids alone, we have to understand that if Mike's my dad, and I'm his son, and he's my son, his building projects won't be done until he's pharaoh.
Yeah.
Like that's the way their projects work.
That's not even like an ancient thing.
Did y'all hear about the sarcophagi done in these deep tunnels and under one of the old pyramids?
That was under more rocks than what they thought.
It was like one of the old pyramids that just essentially looks like a dirt mound, but they're these itty bitty little tunnels, and they've got these multiple sarcophagi.
Yep.
That are
The
made
burial
out
catacombs?
of such
No.
dense
It's a different one.
granite that when they went to carve it, they barely carved any depth into the granite whatsoever. And to this day, engineers, like professional engineers, cannot figure out how they moved this heavy granite and perfectly aligned it down these tunnels, because it just doesn't make sense.
So
There's the same thing for the mica over in the Mayans,
Yep.
like talking about the Mayan pyramids.
Exactly.
Back in Mesoamerica, they had this whole sheet of mica. I think it was something like 20 by 20 feet or something like that, or whatever. It might have been larger, something around there, kind of thing, like an infeasible layer of perfectly preserved singular sheet of mica, which they had no idea how they A, elevated it to begin with, and B, actually inculcated it with the structure of those Mayan pyramids.
Exactly. Talking about them specifically, the Central America region, Mayans, as like we talk about them, obsidian glass. We didn't understand obsidian glass till like 1980s, and that was the beginning of understanding.
Yeah.
Of how they broke it, how they made all these tools. It was like forever ago, they figured it out how to use this.
To be fair, Machu Picchu is still standing. We still don't fully understand the architecture of Machu Picchu and to what extent it's resistant
Which
to like
one is Machu Picchu?
Chile. It's like the mountain region.
Oh, the mountain one?
Yep.
Yeah.
The mountain one where they figured out
by Argentina.
Hold on. They figured out that the pools in it
ADHD.
filled up and turned into reflecting pools for the stars based off of where you were standing in the building in the windows.
Or the
And that was
city
just for
that's
the
underneath
vibe.
And
it.
it complete, because originally they thought it was just a palace for one of the kings, and then that happened, and they were like, "This is not what we thought
But
this
the
was."
palace is up there, and underneath in the mountain is a city.
Yeah.
But this is why I was touching on the obsidian glass. We didn't understand until recently, relatively recently, how to fully make obsidian glass tools. Okay, what if they're using something very similar to that time? Because perfect example.
Well, we've demonstrated that we've lost technology.
We have
right?
lost technology.
Because we don't know how to make original Damascus steel.
Yep.
We do not know how to make it. We don't know how to make Greek fire.
But you know,
Or that it exists.
talking about the Japanese samurai swords, how many still standing actual masters are there?
One?
I think there's one or two at most.
I think I thought that there was one.
I think, yeah,
I
I
thought
do
it was-
think you're right. No, there's not a lot.
I thought it was 3.
It's my dad. He's still here. It's just the one.
It's just the one. Okay, so we'll go off Keebler the elf,
Hey,
the
bro.
tickler.
Hey, Pearl.
Keebler the elf, tickler.
He's
But-
with the tickler elf.
Yeah, she's just
She's
whistling.
just
But
straight
our
wiggling.
understanding of
She's like, I'm
of technology and how we've done things has changed substantially. And if we look back, it was like, for example, how many animals have gone extinct since we've
That we're
colonized
bringing back.
America? So if
Not
we
fully.
look at that, how much technology have we lost from how we used to kill buffalo, or how we used to do this, or
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, the theory that dinosaurs potentially existed during our time because they found petrified stone that had a dinosaur foot and a human foot in the same place.
Where is this?
I mean,
So
I just go
I
off.
That was
raise
in
you
North
one-
America.
I raise you one. There are actually, and this is going down the rabbit hole, but it seems like we've already chased Alice down the
Yeah, we're
Wonderland.
going all the way,
We
bro.
are, but
we're
there's
going
still
all the way.
We're
socially
schizo mode right
connected.
now.
Go, 'cause I
Going
have a
down this
piece.
rabbit hole in, I think it's South America, not South Africa. It was in Africa. There is a certain region inside of it that the natives and pretty much everyone around that region has, in their own words, not connecting because different languages, language barrier.
Yeah.
Has described, I think it's a Paleosaurus, the four-legged, long-necked dinosaur with the fins.
Really?
Yes, to date. Like, they've seen it within our lifetime.
So, and this is what I find fascinating is because, like don't misrepresent. I'm not saying dragon because that's a very Western belief that was spread by the church during the spread of Christianity across
It was
the world.
pretty
right?
Chinese too.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Of course.
However, there are depictions of large lizard-like creatures across the world, all over the place, before the spread of dragons everywhere, right? But they're everywhere. Like you see it in the artwork in Chinese, Japanese, fucking artwork all over the place. So did humans, because we're great at this shit, did we kill them all?
So this is where I want to touch on, which still connects with what you say. I always go back to the Bible because it's a historical document. That's how I understand it. So we go to Job 40:15 through 24. Look at-
Leviathan.
Nope, not the Leviathan. This is my argument for dinosaurs. Look at Behemoth, which I made along with you, and which feeds on grass like an ox. It goes further, but we talk about this giant being. Its tail sways like a cedar. The sinews of its thighs are close-knit, its bones in tubes of bronze, its limbs like rods of iron. It ranks among the works of God, yet its maker can approach it with his sword. The hills bring it their produce, and the wild animals play nearby. So we're talking about a giant herbivore.
Yes.
During Job's time.
Yes.
Like, this is a giant being that the only way we can understand it is it's a giant behemoth.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's look at those times. What was happening during Job's era? A lot of the planet was more marshy.
Yep. Yeah.
So all these theories with science and everything else, it's very similar that if a being was going to be that big, it needed to be pretty much floating in water.
Which, let's not forget the origination of science. What was science originally keeping?
To disprove God.
No. To prove God.
Science was not.
Science, hold on.
I'm listening.
Science,
I disagree.
science, as it was originally driven, was to seek out God's existence in nature. Was essentially to prove God. Now, I'm not saying that there weren't people out there who weren't trying to disprove God, but people who were seeking out God in nature through science.
So
Go ahead, Aardvark.
So, with that, I'd have to say that's it's more of a one-sided view because you had two parties going. The more popular party wasn't actually trying to prove God.
it was a human curiosity.
It was human curiosity trying to disprove God, saying there is no
And
creator.
I'll stop you there. Yeah, that's not even what it was. A human desire, a curiosity to understand the world. That's what science, not God. God wasn't involved in the beginning of science. Science has been molested over, I don't know, back to Mesopotamium.
Mesopotamia.
Yep.
Are we
that-
talking about the scientific method formally in the Aristotelian form?
Yes.
Okay, well that's pretty Grecian.
Yes, but
He takes some
that's the
amount.
start of science. The next time it was really used, we're talking about the Renaissance age.
That's a big gap.
When was the last time we did science? Because we believe
Before that, from Aristotle to the Renaissance, because there's
No,
quite a bit in between.
Aristotle wasn't in Mesopotamia.
I know. I'm saying he's Grecian.
Correct. But I'm
are you
talking
referring to
about-
the scientific method formally? Or are you just saying science generally speaking?
So the scientific method formally was not necessarily established until right because we had
Not
a
true.
lot of,
Aristotle-
hold on we had a lot of people who were applying science because you had your alchemy, right? Early on in life, you had your
We're
other
still
stuff.
skipping a lot here.
This
What do
is
you
all.
mean?
This is all science,
Well, science
but not necessarily
started.
the scientific method.
Okay.
or
Okay.
as we
Scientific
understand
method,
it.
as we understand, didn't come till about Renaissance.
And I don't
If
mean to
we-
play semantics here. I just mean like for the scientific method
No, this
generally.
is this is what the podcast is about.
Yeah,
Like,
no, we want.
like for me, let me explain my understanding. So science started way before the Renaissance era, way before Jesus was born. This is my understanding of it because we see this in moon worshippers in the Bible. We see this in all the other religious texts. They worship the moon. Well, why? Because it told us seasons. The moon and the stars.
Like the Canaanites, you mean?
Yeah, the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Amalekites.
Amalekites.
Yep.
Those damn Amalekites are always causing trouble.
So we talk about when we started doing loose science, and we didn't get to true science until about the Dark Ages. We didn't get to true science until about as we understand it today, true science.
Again, I don't mean to pick on
Well, no,
semantics.
listen,
I just
let's
mean
go.
true science. We had the formalized scientific method, that is to say, hypothesis, process, procedural, repeatable scientific method, in the form of Aristotle, being the predecessor of, right, or what is it, acceding to the seat of Socratic, then Platonic, and then Aristotelian
Yep.
science.
Romans, around the Roman time frame.
Greco-Roman, right? We'll say Greco-Roman because we don't want to go specific
Well,
into history. Whatever. I'm not going
simply
to dog
put,
on.
layman terms to
Yeah.
for the general
We'll say
public.
Greco-Roman. We'll say Greco-Roman.
I'm a layman.
So the Greeks,
I'm somewhat of a layman in this
the
anyways.
Romans. We're talking about all these different gods now.
Yeah, and we've got now Alexander being tutored personally by Aristotle. We've got
Which, by the way, we lost that library, and it's still gone.
To this
That still
day,
pisses
we're
me
feeling
off.
this.
But
which
let's
was
go back to
somewhat
Keebler.
redundant in the fact that there were other temples within
Yes.
Turkey,
Yep.
Greece,
Istanbul
Armenia,
had a
by the way.
huge one.
Armenian pride.
Yes, but here's the difference: is that all those libraries didn't converge back together, and a lot of that same knowledge was lost in various wars and religious purges.
Because
So-
Alexander did something very great that sadly in World War II, the Germans decided to do a very similar aspect, but King Alexander did it very well, and he did it very politically, where he could grab everyone's knowledge and put it together in a less heinous way,
Okay,
we're
going on some
Then Hitler.
crazy shit right now, but I agree.
Because what they did, what Hitler and his group did, was they rolled deep into places that killed everyone off. They took their knowledge.
So when we say science, where are we basing science off of?
I say the
Because-
Aristotelian method.
Okay, so we're
period.
going back to Greek-Roman. Okay.
That is the progeny of science.
Okay, so around the same time that everything else was going on that we've talked about, these temples are being built.
Somewhat.
Around the same time. I'm
Grecian
not saying-
influence in the Mediterranean still took a while. Sub-Saharan Africa was not, put into the form. The Library of Alexandria, Timbuktu, and its formal library was not established at that point. Aside from like
So
I'm not going to go into the.
Here's something
I'm not
that
gonna dog
throws
on
a
you
lot
guys
of
for
people out. The
No,
dec-
dog
no,
on us.
dog on it.
Dog on us.
Because
Dog
here's
on
something
us.
a lot of people don't understand. The Declaration of Independence was signed around the same time Renaissance era was going on in Europe.
So
True.
I got you
And a
one
lot
better.
of people don't, and you're like, holy crap, you talk about all these different science theologians are doing stuff at the same time the United States is being born. Woo!
True.
So-
we had a Pearl incident.
So, if I may interject, here is something that
going?
will help you, at least the less historical buff viewers, understand for the time frame we're talking about and what really was going on.
Yeah, 'cause I'm not trying to go into like the
You
weeds of
have the fact that during the American Civil War, like we separate rifles, samurai, the proper English gentleman, and the age of piracy as 4 separate years.
But samurais were going around the
But
same time
all
we were
4
doing
of them, in a actual historical sense,
Same
could have
piece.
met at a bar and
did.
actually held a conversation, and all of them would have been in the correct time frame.
So that's why when
Didn't you
when
see
we
The
talk
Last
about,
Samurai?
when we talk about science, that's where I'm asking, where are we starting science for the
If you're talking about rigorous, theologically disparate, or at the very least theologically agnostic inquiry into the natural science, quote unquote, sciences as we understand them, that is to say, like the inquiry of the natural world and its laws and principles, I wouldn't say that started with Aristotle. That's not my argument. I'm saying that was formalized in the form that...
I would agree.
I would agree
It
with that
was-
because it was not formalized. Like I said earlier, before that there were alchemists trying to turn
Agreed.
lead into gold.
And I
they're-
think we can all
maybe
agree.
succeding. We have no idea.
There were
That
Hebronic
doctrine-
inscriptions
So
in...
the doctrine was built during the
there
time period you're
were,
debating.
There were witches who were solving issues using natural herbal medicines,
we're
which
still
are the same herbal medicines that we turn into ibuprofen and shit. We just call them by different names.
Correct.
We're still skipping about 2,000 years. And even then, ibuprofen and the willow that you put in your teeth and
Isn't
stuff like
new.
that or whatever to dull pain. China had that around the same time as Aristotle.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about all before that. I'm talking about like witch living in the fucking woods.
How about like mud creatures like Neanderthals just sucking down like snails or whatever? Man, they sure make my stomach feel good.
My stomach feel
But
good.
to get back to the root of this is the pyramids. We're really discussing the science that the Egyptians had for the pyramids for us to figure out whether or not these roots that they built for these giant buildings, because that's what they are, they're roots. If they're that far in the ground, they're roots.
And based off of the imagery they showed us, those are structured.
Massive single stone structures.
Those are not quarries because they're giant cylinders with spirals going around.
And we know they were good at math. We know this, so there is a possibility the stone could have been there. Possibility.
So this makes me wonder, for example, in modern times, I know it sounds like weird tangent. In modern times, we use the bullet train from Japan as a perfect example. We use nature to show us how to do something properly.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the example of the bullet train had to change the shape of its nose.
Before that, the Wright brothers flying.
Before that, the Wright brothers.
To change the shape of
They
its
had
nose
to change the shape of the nose
to
so it
stop the sonic
it would
boom as
stop
it's
a
going
sonic
in and
boom
out
as
of
it
a
would-
tunnel.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
We had to change it to it was a type of bird that
I
whenever
believe
it would dive into the water, it would go mock fucking Jesus, as the best way I can describe it, because I don't remember exact speed. It would pierce the water and make the least amount of ripple.
Nothing from the peanut gallery. You're not gonna.
Come on, Keebler.
This shit's lit. The herringbone for the herringbone for the construction of the zero.
So
I'm on this shit. I watched
it
the wind
would go
rise as I'm
into-
here.
And it would cause the least amount of ripple.
That's that shit. That's that shit.
So, I mean,
So with that in mind, it makes me wonder if, because we've seen a concrete pour of a African ant's nest, and I think it was what, 3 or 4 days of pouring concrete into this thing before they finally got to the top of it. You know how America, Texas, whole South, we pour aluminum into anthills?
Yeah.
Yep.
They did that with an African anthill. They were pouring for 3 or 4 days
it stretched for miles.
straight. The thing stretched from they had highways, cities, bridges. The whole thing was a catacomb, like the French catacomb for ants' nests.
So
And
before
it
we
makes
cut,
me-
Awesome.
you can't tell me a pharaoh wouldn't be like, you're studying ants for the next 15 years to tell me how to build.
Because
so
they show
we're
how to
gonna
build
we're gonna stop
properly.
here. We're gonna hold a lot of this offline. So let's get to the nitty gritty of it. So you're talking about science. We're all talking about science. We agreed we're talking about the Greek, Roman time frame. You're talking about looking at different insects.
And I just meant to
in
formalize
Africa.
it.
Yeah. Let's bring this back
Let's-
to where
let's
we
bring it
started.
back
to the center.
We know their structures because we've scanned.
Well, again, not peer-reviewed yet, right?
Well, correct. So Mike will lead on this one. Go ahead.
So the thing is that I'm excited about this, right? Because it opens up a whole potential to, and it kind of makes sense when analysts and stuff so they're into the ancient civilization group, right? When they talk about, hey, potentially there was a civilization older with
Predating.
a higher level of technology, but before the Egyptians and before all these other groups, right?
Yep.
Who go way, way, way back, right? They kind of, it kind of gets me excited. It kind of gets me bubbly because
Who is there to share the same technology for all of
Right.
these going on at the same time?
Because it also makes sense because, a lot of people like to talk about, a pyramid is a basic structure. Obviously, it would be all over the world, right? However, the way that the pyramids are all shaped across the world, and the fact that they follow star patterns, and the
And
fact
they all
that,
line up perfectly?
yes, and the fact that they all line up perfectly and
The
everything like
block
that, that
spacing.
that suggests a more ancient civilization, right?
Or a
And-
deeper understanding of something.
And a more deeper understanding
You're saying
of the
pan-continental
sciences.
civilization is what you're
Right.
implying.
Yes, yes. And potentially even Atlantis, because they may hold on.
I hear you.
They
I hear you.
have found the actual location of Atlantis, which is based off of the actual descriptions that Plato gave for Atlantis, as opposed to the
And Herodotus.
fictional
And the square
and
footprint.
Herodotus.
Yep.
As opposed to fictional descriptions where it's like it sunk under the sea. It's like no, it was surrounded by a swamp, essentially.
Correct.
Right?
You're
Because
talking about
hey,
the one in the Sahara, right? The one where they found
yes,
all them.
Yes, exactly. Because
Same
guess what? We have multiple instances of cities being built on lakes and water features and stuff like that. So
The
why could
Aztecs.
Atlantis have not been that?
You've
And
got to
it's-
read Fingerprints of the Gods. I'm telling you, by Graham. He cut. It's syncretic. It's not specifically honed in on this
You also
specific
got the
topic,
issue
but
of-
that's a really good resource. I say
Okay.
it is.
So we're gonna have to wrap it up.
We're going to wrap it up. We're going to hold the rest of this offline because a lot of us want to still say stuff.
Yeah.
We'll catch you guys on the next segment. We'll see you in a minute.
Catch you later.
Justice Schizo.
Yeah. That we had.
Yep.
All right, boys and girls, we're back,
Hey, girl. Hey.
and this time I want to talk about
China.
I want to talk about China. I want to talk about the fact that we had analysts from multiple different countries analyze different aspects of China.
Peer review.
Peer review. And I'm talking Russia, I'm talking Japan, I'm talking America, and they all came down to the fact that we thought that China was in the billions on their population, and it turns out that their population is more like 300 to 400 million, which in hindsight,
Paper tiger. What?
we when we believed them about their economy and it turned out that their economy was a lie, maybe we should have fucking questioned the population. Maybe we should have questioned
Are
the
you
population, especially after they said, hey, we don't want you to have more than one child, and they killed a bunch of girls.
So are they still a paper tiger? That we talked about this on the podcast
I mean,
months ago. And
I fully believe. Okay. After the keyhole incident, I fully believe that they're a paper tiger. You know what I'm talking?
I do, and if you look at Yao Hongshu from the straight from the source,
Gesundheit.
average citizen of China, with whom I interact, I'll tell you what, directly at my face.
yes, it's
I will directly at
directional.
my face discuss that
Just
from
move it.
Just grab it like your dick, except your dick's
this
smaller.
goddamn paper
It's
tiger.
way bigger than your dick. I know.
A lot of fluff here. There's a lot of fluff.
Grab it like a boob. That's hairy. Caress it very gently.
I don't know why you thought that was a more applicable, a more relevant
Well,
analogy.
let me ask you
He
this:
just said
how,
that your wife had a hairy boob.
how often are you around dick? Versus
How
how
often-
often are you around boob? Well, never mind. I know that answer. Don't answer it.
Khajiit has wares. If you have coin, this is the kind of
Swear.
boob that we're discussing right now. This is
Wait, hold on.
That's where
Which version? Which version? We talked about 20th anniversary, 10th anniversary, reworked.
Whatever the fuck was it-
I'm talking Oblivion, son.
whatever the fuck was available on uTorrent in 2016
Oh,
informed my foundational
He's
experience.
real young.
Oh,
But let's
he's
get back
real
to
young.
China before we get off
Yeah.
tangent.
So China.
Because we
China,
have
realistically-
hold on, we have talked about them a couple different times being paper tigers, being technologically
Yeah.
advanced. We've talked about this on podcasts.
Well,
But
we knew
there's
that
an
they
update.
weren't. We knew that they weren't technologically advanced. They based all their technology off shit they kind of stole from us.
Okay,
But what
well,
they
it's
are
not like
doing-
they're throwing rocks and mud at us. Like they still have
no,
basically
no,
an
no,
F-35.
But
like
did you see that their stealth fighter and everyone, like all the professional analysts who actually knew anything about
Top of the
engines
line.
were looking at their engines and they're like, that can't fly. That just can't fly.
it doesn't
is
matter
this?
that it can't fly. It's
It's
that they
this
have
next-
10 pilots per fucking plane, and they will
It's-
send 9 of them
Exactly.
until it works.
It's his next tier 5 fucking stealth fighter, RF-14s, F-16s can't keep
their
up with it.
advanced rifle that at fucking 10 feet will fucking keyhole a target. You know what keyholing?
I'm not going to answer that question.
So no.
So no. So anyone else want to take this, or do you want me to take?
All you are.
Okay. So keyholing So do you know when you fire a rifle that there's rifling inside of the rifle?
The spinny bit.
The spinny
And it's
bits.
supposed to cause a round
An exit wound.
supposed to cause a round to spin, and that spin causes it to travel further
And more accurately.
accurate,
Yeah.
right? When the twist on that spin isn't configured correctly,
Blunderbuss.
it will tumble as it comes out of the rifle,
A pirate
and that's
blunderbuss.
what you get keyholing.
Blunderbuss.
It's not supposed to tumble. It's not supposed to tumble. That means that you have almost zero accuracy altogether over any kind of distance.
Didn't the Chinese invent guns?
Coil guns do the
No.
same
No.
thing.
Nope.
No, they did not. They
Who did? Who
They-
did? Tell me
We
who
got a
did.
phone.
They-
I'm gonna pull this up.
Tell me who
they
did.
invented gunpowder.
Grenades.
True. And the little sticks that they shoot stuff from the gunpowder.
They
and
originally
fireworks.
they originally invented fireworks.
You're saying the
But it
Mali
was-
Empire invented firearms.
But it was the Europeans who invented firearms because why? Because white people want to kill people.
So here we go.
They do
I
wanna
will
kill-
halfway give you credit.
Thank you.
Now, the invention of guns is attributed to China.
Uh-huh.
Does
And is this the
not-
Gemini answer?
Which does not actually. No, that's not Gemini. That's science, how stuff works. They're attributed. But you know who else is attributed with something?
The Mali Empire, baby.
Alexander Graham Bell with the telephone.
God.
So it's not actually China. There was others that had it, but they're the first to mass produce it.
Who did it?
They also got the most massive amounts of numbers. So mass producing.
India.
Massive
India is
amounts
the
of numbers
first
that
to
are the
actually
exact
make a
same as
hand
us.
I will not accept the Indian subcontinent as the inventor of the
Sure.
firearm. Please provide another answer.
Okay, you tell me you meet a Chinese man and an Indian man, tell them they're the same. Tell them they're
Whoa.
both China.
Whoa.
I'll wait.
Hot
I'll
take.
wait for you to call a help desk.
I'm waiting.
I neither implied that, nor did I leave that for implication.
I'll wait for you to call a help desk.
Oh
and-
no, but
So, hold on,
I
hold on.
ain't fucking
Hold on.
answering that phone.
Back to,
back to the population.
but population. They've been lying about their population for years, and
Yeah.
I believe
And their
this
economy.
was brought up last time we talked. And I was like, I don't think their population's that big. I don't
Yeah.
know if I said it. You said.
You said it because I thought that they were less of a tiger than you thought that they were a picture
I was
tiger.
like, I don't think they could hand for hand fight us in combat in war.
Yeah.
Okay, one thing. Not to my bit earlier about like the first-hand accounts on Johan or Red Note.
are you about to backtrack? Are you about to
No, no, no,
backpedal?
no, no,
Are
I'm
you about
double-
to turn into a girl?
I would
I'm
never
all ears,
backtrack.
Keebler.
I will only double
Not a
down.
girl,
I'm
an
only doubling
officer.
down today. In the
There's a
fact that
difference.
Like,
the middle class, all they have is fractional ownership of real estate, sight unseen, which does not exist. That's like the equivalent of 401k for most of these like hyper corporatized and yet still party owned and led, like generally speaking, the urban middle class within China. I don't know about the population metric.
All the economic zones are gone, by the way.
True.
Like they
Gone.
like the party wiped out all the economic zones. Although
They're still going to build the buildings.
unconfirmed, by the
Yep,
way, because I
continuously.
didn't dig into this, but supposedly Xi Jinping or whatever the party
Xi
leader-
Jinping is the one guy you got to know.
the party leader's name supposedly got out. I don't know how true that is.
He's
I
gotten
haven't-
soft ousted, which is like canceled.
Correct.
Like I
He's only
haven't-
been canceled.
Yeah, I
he hasn't
haven't
been kicked out.
researched any of this, right? So I don't know how true
Reddit
that
says
is.
he's basically canceled.
Yeah, Reddit says a lot of things.
Well, yeah.
Reddit says that you're a furry.
Zhao Hongshu does it.
No, but for years we've seen them building, and Keebler can definitely touch on this one. They build these massive structures. Like, all these people are living in there, which has given them the facade of, oh, we have all these people. No, they've had empty apartment buildings, like mega structures.
they're mega cities that we've all
Empty.
known
Empty.
are empty. And the reason that they're empty isn't because that they're built incorrectly. It's because they have no economy to fill.
You know what cracks
these
me up?
empty cities. Hold on, Aardvark.
so I raise you one. Ready for this?
Nope.
Yeah, I know you're not. So not only is the fact that their population isn't as big as what they said they are, their unemployment rates are incorrect. It's not correctly tracked because they only track those that are in the urban population.
Oh,
Urban means city.
Yeah.
Where is most of their population?
It's
Outside the
it's in
city.
rural
It's in
environment.
rural.
It's outside of their city.
Guangzhou
you wanna
province,
tell
stay
me-
winning.
You want to tell me that they're, for example, random numbers, because I don't remember the exact number. We'll say 10% is unemployed. That's only 10% of in the city, not 10% of the entire country.
They also still utilize metrics from
But
Macau
no,
and Hong Kong.
This is exactly what I
But-
talk about. Like, we look at the last Olympics that were there, the buildings that were built were to house who? The citizens they moved
Yeah.
to there to make it seem more populated.
By the way, have you seen video of someone going from the city to the country?
Yeah.
Because we're straight up going from 2020 to 1910. Whenever they fucking get out of the city
Yep.
into the country, you're like, what the fuck?
So there-
Are you
happened to your
talking about the
technology?
videos where you have the farmers having to create their own vehicles to traverse across the terrain because
Same ones.
Yeah.
Because
Same
so
shit.
there's a bunch of YouTubers out there, Twitch streamers that go and just travel the world.
Zhao Ma, shout out Zhao Ma.
Oh, okay,
Okay,
that's one.
Someone's shouting out to someone.
But
So-and-so.
we have this for people that have American citizens that have gone to North Korea in the past couple years, seen where it's at, gone to China, gone to all these third world countries as we understand third world,
Yeah.
not actual third world. And it's a night and day difference from what's being broadcast. It's no different than our news here. Oh, this and everyone else is like
there
this.
are third world countries that have a higher technology level than rural China.
Yep.
To be fair, have you been in northern Alabama?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I actually have.
We all have.
Okay. That's my whole. That's my whole statement.
Is that your bit?
Is
That's
that
my
your
whole
Because-
bit.
hold on.
Y'all seen my cousin Vinny? Cause I've seen my cousin Vinny.
Hold on. There's Red Arsenal there. There's Red Arch there. There's NASA there. Hold on. I'll just stop at that.
And they've all got Linux.
rural America.
But your argument was, have you been to Northern? Yes, that's actually one of the tech cities of the South.
Rural
Huntsville
America.
area.
Rural
Huntsville goes
America
hard. Huntsville does go
is
hard.
10 times ahead of rural.
That's true. Plus, they speak English. in Alabama.
Loosely.
Sorry. A dialect at the very
We
least.
barely speak
Correction.
English.
They speak English. It's not English, and there are plenty of words that don't exist.
So yeah, I'm gonna sidetrack us. We've
Thank you.
nailed this topic, but I'm gonna sidetrack us before we sidetrack into the other real topic. But
Yeah, they
I've
held over.
before asked us on this podcast for stories from spooky stories from more of this.
Spooky stories from Paris.
Mm.
I'm trying to think of one I haven't.
The people of Appalachia being the spook.
No. I'm talking about
Real
Ghost
paranormal
stories,
activity.
witch stories, all that.
Residual haunting. Demonic haunting.
even stories that you've heard from a family.
I don't know if I got any more.
So I got one from a friend,
I'll take it.
Let's go.
acquaintance,
Okay,
I would
I'll
say,
take
not quite friend. But back in high school, there was, I don't remember the fucking name of the face. They existed in high school
Yeah.
around me.
it. A person in high school.
Yep. So they were talking this mad shit about how they were not scared of anything. They went on a camping trip with their family.
Uh-oh.
And they decided, high school, you're invincible. Nothing can kill you.
Well, that's
Standard, yeah.
Standard.
Par for the course.
They came back a different person.
uh-oh.
Their whole personality shifted from I'm the biggest, baddest thing in this building to I exist here. Let me exist in peace.
There's way bigger and badder things out there, and I'm not one of them.
For Carl.
yeah.
I'm not for Carl anymore. I'm not for Carl anymore.
They went from for democracy to I support voting.
Yeah.
And
So what was the story though? Get to
so the story was they went camping on a trip with their family out in the middle of bumflip nowhere.
Okay.
In the middle of bumflip nowhere. So the boonies of the boonies. And they go out outside of their tent. I think it was like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Witching hour.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
the
that's
hour
about right.
when the cougars,
Above
not
the
the people
tree.
cougars, the actual cougars, are prowling.
The spiritual. Well,
Well, 12 to
and,
3 is the witching hour.
and the stimul.
And they were out and about, fucking around, doing Lord knows what.
Idiotic young people thing.
Idiotic young teenager things. Heard something. They decided instead of turning around and going back to
Investigate.
bed, I'm gonna be the brave soul that investigates.
Oh no! Don't be the white guy.
No, they weren't the white guy, they were the white chick.
Even worse.
It's kind of
I
over.
can fix,
Guaranteed death.
I can fix him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They went, they wouldn't say exactly what they saw, but the moment they started to describe or try to describe what it would be, their face went gone. It was as if they were
Like they went dead-eyed on you.
they went dead-eyed, like they were looking through everything. They were looking beyond you. They were looking beyond the story they were telling. The 1,000-mile stare.
I mean, that's a,
Yeah, I mean that's true ghost story right there, right? Where
what's
you
there?
never
we don't
actually
know.
hear about the ghost or about the story. You hear about the repercussions of the
And
story.
something has changed. with them.
Something has changed about the story. Like,
Like-
you know,
They couldn't describe what they saw. I can't describe what they would I can tell you how they were before and how they were after.
Yeah.
But there is no words
This
I
goes
can
into
give you.
the etymology of words that we were discussing
Yeah.
offline. The words I would use to describe something would be different than everyone else here.
that's actually to me scarier.
There is no English word
Yeah.
that I am aware of that can describe what they have said
I mean,
and
that's
what they would describe.
that's some H.P. Lovecraft, right?
From
like I'm not
the change of
describing to you
personality.
the monster. I'm describing to you
The after effect.
my reaction to the monster. Right?
So-
And that, to me, this is a true ghost, right? The person cannot describe what happened to them. All you can describe, or all you can, in this case, is their reaction to what ultimately happened.
I
right?
think
And-
what.
and-
Yeah.
and I get from your expression and general demeanor that you don't believe.
No, I've got my own experiences for sure.
Okay, well, shoot.
Whoa,
Oh,
here.
fuck.
Let's dive into
Yeah,
it,
we want to
Keebler.
hear this.
Don't keep me waiting, Huckleberry.
I'm fully aware of the hesitance of the aforementioned people story to describe, given that it. I don't know.
I don't. If you don't want to describe the experience, describe the reaction.
Or the effects it had on you.
I'll say I lived in a place for a short time in my parents moved houses, that is to say, when I was growing up, as a direct result of this, that for years afterwards, I just speak very briefly on it. To speak very briefly, I had all these tendencies or whatever going to sleep. I had very ritualized kind of ways to go to sleep, and probably still do to this very day, which are kind of a direct result of some of those very definitively supernatural experiences. There was I'm already speaking on it, so I might as well.
Go for more, bro. Go for more.
There was a place that family lived, and in this house, bad vibes, right? Bad. That's a very silly way to say it,
Well,
right?
well,
there was some.
Okay, so stop.
This is preface. This is preface.
Yeah. You're saying bad vibes, like that's a bad thing, but that's a very real
So
thing.
when we were overseas, there was very similar. It was like, look, when you have to do the watch this way, and we'll watch. Just do it that way.
Fuck
So,
it.
and the moment you do it wrong, you can tell the people that did it wrong, because you're like, I did it wrong. I had those same feelings. It was like, because you're outside the wire, and things just get seared
And-
real damn quick.
And it's vibe.
And
It's
and
not a-
That's it. It's like it feels weird. Or I saw something. So you tell your battle. It's like, you see the thing over there? Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
So
My-
continue.
my-
Continue. So don't feel
my
weird about
dog.
it. Don't feel weird about it being a vibe.
I'll speak frankly on it. My dog, there was a specific area around which it was vocal in this house, and my dog at the time would walk up into the hallway, exact spot below the staircase, and I don't mean to turn this into a ghost story, but they the dog would sit there, he'd look at the wall, and we'd only know this because we'd hear the noises, and eventually we'd come to investigate, even then preemptively investigate because this happens so frequently. Look at the wall, locked in, growl, start barking, and just start kind of like very hesitant. You know what I mean? Like you're not sure, like what to.
Yeah.
You
I'm gonna fuck with you.
You can see. You
I'm
can.
gonna fuck you up, but I'm not happy about this
Yeah.
fuck up.
You can see the like almost human emotion kind of thing on the duck. It's like an animal. You know what I mean? You can tell from an animal. And eventually, she'd either stop and it would kind of dissipate, or she'd run to a point that it would very clearly intensify at a certain point. And this is like a few times wherever I'd come out and I'd watch or whatever. Sometimes the whole family would watch always miserable. But that specific area, I'm getting I don't. To speak very inspecifically on it.
Hey,
one point-
listen, we've got a bunch of believers. Don't feel
I know. It's
weird
not
about
it's not a matter of disbelief. It's just uncomfortable even described. Just fuck.
It got you on nerve, is what you're trying to explain.
No, man. I'm trying to explain that we went out there and tried to kind of
Find
interact.
out what it is.
I'm dead. We tried to fucking. It didn't go well. It was weird. It was bad. It was not a positive experience. Weird. Strange. And I don't know. For years after, even intermittently to this very day, there's certain. I don't know. There's like certain thoughts you got to banish. You know what I mean? Like end of night.
Throw it in a box and forget it.
Yeah, exactly. You take your 6 Miller Lite for the night. It's Tuesday. You got work in the morning.
Yeah, I mean,
No, not actually.
well, okay, so we'll jump over to a lighter topic.
I mean, before we go,
Go ahead.
I'll touch on a.
Yeah, I'm not
well,
sensitive. I don't know.
I'll touch on a ghost story.
Nothing crazy. If I said that there was a face that appeared in the drywall, I'd probably say that, right? But
No,
nothing like that.
But realistically,
I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
It's a
weird.
supernatural story.
So-
but let's end the podcast on a highlight. We know Aardvark's going to touch on
China.
all the Helldivers. So, the Helldivers news, give us the 3-minute breakdown and go.
All right, so a 3-minute breakdown from what I have reviewed. And not all of this is completely fact checked. Most of it is from what I have seen and what I have collected from amassing multiple different YouTubers and viewers and discussion boards. With that in mind, we have the fact that there are major break fixes that are going on. The developers are aware of many bugs that are going on with the game itself. They're aware of the fact that many users are experiencing issues with not just major objectives rolling or sub-objectives rolling, where they're fixing many of the issues that are coming out. and
Dive
that-
into some of the new items that are in there or some of the new bugs that they added. Give us some brief
Okay.
updates on
So we got the
news.
fact, my favorite one, the predator strain bugs. Current bug, you can salute them and they'll just follow you around like
like a
like
pet.
pop
Like a
like
pet.
paparazzi. You have the fact that some of the gloom bugs, you can salute them. This whole solid, yes, democracy. The bugs recognize it and they'll just follow you around. Favorite video? Some dude saluting them. Then you got a charger plowing through dude and a bile titan just destroying everything on his corpse.
All right, what else we got going on in Helldivers? Because we know Illuminator there, they're popping around.
So the Illuminate are
we-
popping around, but it seems
we've
more.
got planets that are almost on top of Super Earth, right?
So it seems more and more like the developers are trying to balance out the automaton and the Terminates more than they are working with the Illuminate.
Bugs in the box.
The
Yeah.
bugs in the box. They're working on those two more than the Illuminate. The Illuminate is more of a relaxed, hey, I'm fed up with
Both
bots.
of these numbers.
I'm
or
fed up
math.
with the difficulty of bots where they're shooting at me, or the difficulty of bugs where it's a hive mind. There's no other way to describe it than it's a hive mind, and all of them know where you're at.
So we're going to cut you off there on the Helldivers news. I think Mike's going to take it on from here.
So guys, This has been Name Pending.
This is name pending.
It
I'm
has been.
Keeper.
I'm Mike Culberson.
I'm Aardvark.
That's the fucking elf.
Keebler, the elf tickler.
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 I'll
The,
take
the
Tickler.
tickler of elves.
It's been
Not
fun.
true.
Throw a comment down below. I'll respond.
Hey, support your veterans, support your first responders, support.
Yeah,
Yeah.
support your front end people.
Look
And your
out-
local businesses.
And your
look-
local
Yeah,
businesses.
and your local. Look out for your boys and girls who are, you know, have been
Downrange.
quiet for
Work
you.
quiet. Yep. Check on your
And-
friends.
Yeah, check on your friends. And
What does Mike say?
hey, fuck that like button.
And don't always forget, tickle that subscribe. We'll catch you on the next episode. It's been fun hanging with you guys on this one. Later.
Later.
That's a live